What is the difference between my leads and my jokes? I don't layer my jokes!
Breaking your love.
Hey, I am Sour and I make videos about hardstyle production while pretending this doesn't hurt my actual hardstyle production. And today I'll show you my process on layering hardstyle leads. Because it doesn't matter how good your melody is if your leads sound like ass. Let's begin. This is the sound of the thunder. Our main lead gives us our main character. No surprises there. The sound you pick can be any, as long as that's the vibe you require. You of course can layer this with a host of other sounds as well. However, it is best to pick different sounds that complement each other. If they all sound pretty identical, you are essentially creating the musical equivalence of incest. You need the diversity in order not to mud up the entire sound. However, a sick main lead is just a start. If layering was this easy, you wouldn't be watching this right now. Long ago, the four leads lived together in harmony. Everything changed when the feedback you heard was about your lack of harmonies. A harmony layer is essentially a layer where you take any sound, usually a friendly supercell, and have it play chords based on the individual notes instead of the bass. This sounds complex, but only because it also looks complex. If you break it down, it is still complex. You take your melody note, look at your reference chord, and if you can, you will just base the other notes in your melody off the chord. And if not, it may take some trial and error, or you can just look at what the other notes in the chords and whatever did. A lot of people will get stuck with this because they seem to thrive for perfection, which is a huge waste of time. As long as it sounds not awful, trademark, it is probably good. Perfect is boring, and that is not why we do this. You are aiming for interesting, and sometimes a little bit of dissonance, that's French for conflict I imagine, gets you that sound. Let's make this not sound flat anymore, and this is pretty easy. You just separate your newly made layers from your harmony you just made. That is why that step just came first. The other way around is pretty difficult. So if you layer down like a good boy, this top line is your melody. That means that we need to make separate layers from the middle line and the bottom line. This sounds easy, but the amount of times I forgot a single note only to figure out which one far too late makes this the most nerve-wracking part of it all. Assuming you selected all the notes correctly, you didn't, you should make a new layer and paste it there. Same for the other line. The sounds I pick for these are lead layers that are not overly dramatic or anything special really. These should support instead of steal the show. So if your character is extravagant and extra, it is not going to support very well. Now the leads don't sound flat anymore. However, it does still sound pretty thin. Let's fix that. Grab a noise lead. The one that makes your mother cry, because this sure isn't music. Yet. See, a lead like this is as close to magic as it gets. It is awful on its own, but like bringing your ugly friend as a wingman, boy does it wonders in making everything else better in comparison. Give it the main lead use and marvel, or DC, at its magic. My theory is, because it is so far off the tones of an actual pretty lead, it just fills in everything else around it without clashing. If you turn this layer up, you will sound like atmospheres. If you turn it down for what, it will get a bit more subtle but still really cool. Quick interruption. Holy shit, music production is a lot, am I right? If you are the type of person who thrives with personal coaching, consider taking lessons from me. I have been doing private music production lessons for over 2 years now, and frankly, I think it is unfair for you to miss out on something like this. If you plan to get 5 or more sessions, I offer a free get to know session to figure out if this works for you. No strings attached. Leveling. Okay, you made a lot of noise. Let's take it to the next level by using the long forgotten ancient art of leveling. Leveling is just playing with the volumes until it all somehow starts to sound better. However, there is something else I want to pull attention to for a bit. A lot of you have noticed that a lower lead just sounds better. Nobody likes high shit. Alas. But we rarely hear our leads on their own in actual music. There is either a really heavy bass or kick along with it, and you need to keep that in mind. Yeah, you can bullshit or low-cut your way out of trouble to a degree, but preventing is better than fixing, so if you can, move a couple of layers up by an octave. With leveling itself, I aim for two things. First, I want to hear the main character. Secondly, if I hear any other sound clearly over the rest, I'll turn it down. This way you get all the smoothness you desire. Send all your leads to an empty channel and give it a name and a color. This is your lead bus and it prevents headaches. Add an EQ with a low-cut around whatever value is the least controversial, so between 150 and 200 Hz. Any other FX slots are up for debate. Some like to process it a bunch, but I often just add a PureTech EQP1A for the extra brightness my parents hoped to see in me. And everything else is open for whatever I want to automate. I'm gonna send the lead bus to 3 different channels. One I'll name reverb, one I'll name delay, and one I'll name sidechain for misleading purposes, because all of them will sidechain. The reverb and delay channels get their reverb and delay plugins. If you care about my exact settings for whatever reason, Valhalla Room long stereo hall for the reverb, and for delay I have a prototype plugin my buddy Fruitmasters made, and please beg him into releasing it, it is my favorite. But if your delay sounds like this, it will do the trick. Now add any sidechain capable compressor. I use Fruity Limiter because of course I would. Make it say compression, threshold down, ratio up, release to taste, and make it sidechain to the lead bus. Then copy the settings to the reverb channel, or the delay channel depending on where you started. Now send your reverb, delay and lead all to the sidechain thing and make sure none of them go directly to the master, because that is childish behavior and you shouldn't have to tolerate it. On your sidechain channel you will add a sidechain capable plugin. I went with Fruity Limiter because of course I would. Threshold down, ratio up and release very fucking short. And for the trigger we can use any random sample made to the shortest sound FL Studio allows, which will follow along with the punches of your kick. This gets its own channel, sidechain only to sidechain, I told you this was confusing, and make the compressor respond to that thing. There you go, perfect leads, perfectly mixed, given that you didn't fuck up anything else, and actually put in some practice and spend enough time finding sounds that work for your song. Fuck! If you want to learn how to make sounds like the ones we used, check out my 3 lead video. If you want some awesome sounds to play with for Silent 1, I'll link down the Fruity Masters Sound of Silent bank and the D-Tunes Ultimate Remake pack down below. I honestly never liked Silent 1 until I started messing around with these 2 banks. The kicks I used are from the Hardstyle Kickpack Volume 2 by my buddy Valido. If Serum is more your thing, I have my own Serum bank, which has plenty of sounds to get your song started. All of which can be found down below. Layering doesn't have to be complicated if you follow these basic principles and just get some practice in, you'll get it in no time. Tell us about your favorite layering techniques in the comments, and any video ideas are of course more than welcome as well. I love tailoring videos to your demand, so keep it coming. Any questions are of course more than welcome. I tend to respond to everyone here, so see you there. With that being said, it was a true pleasure to be your host once again. Until we meet again.